we discussed different aspects of ecosystems. So by now, we have covered Unit 1, which is Introduction to Environmental Studies. Then we covered Unit 2, Ecosystems. And last time we talked about, different aspects of ecosystems. We discussed that, why it is important to study ecosystems in detail and why, it forms a structural and functional unit of natural systems. Okay, why we should study them in detail to understand the dynamics going on in the natural system, and then why we should be concerned about the ecosystem degradation, why we should be concerned about that how better we can restore the degraded ecosystems, and how we should arrest the activities which are leading to the degradation of ecosystems, how we have been depleting the condition, how we have been I must tell you that making the ecosystems less productive, right? Because when in a condition of degradation, the ecosystem won't be able to perform at its best, functioning hamper hogi, right? Because of that, the productivity of the ecosystem is seriously hampered. Okay, and then we studied that how better we can work towards the restoration of ecosystems, and we discussed different biodiversity parks based in Delhi as a perfect example of ecosystem restoration. How restoration has been achieved in the past and it is ongoing. How Yamuna Biodiversity Park and Aravali Biodiversity Park based in Delhi, how they have been converted into nature reserves. So yes, that is very much possible. If human intervention can lead to depletion of the state, depletion of resources, or degradation of the state of ecosystems, yes, it can also lead to the restoration. We can also ensure the restoration of ecosystems. Okay, so we are accountable for the degradation we have caused in the past. But yes, now if we take the responsibility on our shoulders, definitely we can improve the condition of the natural ecosystems. Okay, we can still conserve our resources. So today we will be talking about different natural resources. When we were discussing ecosystem services, as a part of Unit 2, we talked that these are considered these subsidies of nature, ecosystem services. They are somehow considered the resources for free. We think that these are subsidies of nature and we are getting them for free. The natural resources, that includes land, water, air, okay, all this is for free and we can use the way we want. But no, this ideology is changing. I'm sure you being young students are quite aware that what we have been doing to the resources, how the resource pool is being depleted in the contemporary scenario. What are the threats being faced? Right? And that's why we should be quite aware and we should work towards arresting or utilizing these resources recklessly. We should arrest the way we are using these resources, the way we are depleting, the way we are degrading the quality of resources, right? So we should work towards that. So let us talk about natural resources as a part of Unit 3. Right, and let us move ahead. So it is very important, before we begin, it is very important for us to know that what is a resource. What is a resource? See, resource may be defined as any useful information, any useful material or service, right? Which when put to right use, it can be useful to mankind. It can be useful to us, okay? So the natural resources, that is goods and services, supplied by the environment, and human-made resources, that is cities, buildings, institutions and other artifacts, and also human resources, which includes wisdom, experience, skill and enterprise. This forms a classification of resources. Okay, so if you want to concentrate on natural resources, those are goods and services which are supplied by the environment. It could be human-made resources, using different natural resources which we get from the environment, and when we try to convert them into finished products, when we try to form, cities, buildings, construct institutions, metro, railway networks, say road networks, that these are all human-made resources. And if we talk about human resources, that is the resources of the human being. That is wisdom, experience, skill, through which we try to utilize natural resources. Right. So, what are natural resources? Natural resources, concentrating upon natural resources, that is goods and services which we get from the environment directly or indirectly. So these natural resources, they can be categorized into renewable and non-renewable resources. Okay. So as the terminology suggests, and as you have been studying in your lower grades already, that the resources which can be renewed are natural resources, which cannot be renewed are which can be renewed are renewable resources, and those which cannot be renewed with time, they are non-renewable resources. Okay, so basically this is quick recapitulation of what already you have studied in lower grades, right? Nothing new. See, some of the resources of the earth are placed from time to time by natural multiplication, such as vegetation. In other words, these resources are regenerated and are therefore called renewable resources, right? Which can be regenerated, which can be renewed with time on their own. Okay, forests, pastures, wildlife, aquatic life, they are examples of renewable resources. For instance, we are not managing, there is no human intervention in forest. Forest is managing itself on its own. It is self-perpetuating population of different species. We have no intervention in the forest, right? Although if there is some sort of human intervention, that is for tourism, ecotourism, or that is as a part of certain tribal people, they are living over there. But that too, they are living in harmony with nature. Right, but we are not going for plantations, we are not taking care of watering, we are not taking care of so many other aspects which are happening in a forest. Okay, so all the functioning is being led by the forest itself, and that's why it is a self-perpetuating ecosystem. It is managing, self-sustaining ecosystem. It is managing itself on its own. Okay, so these are renewable resources. Once supposedly in a forest, if we have forest fires, bush fires, if it is human induced or even if it is natural process, we do not go for plantations. It's all it comes back to its natural state on its own. It rejuvenates on its own. So it is a renewable resource. It never dies off. Okay, until and unless there is no serious anthropogenic intervention. Okay, then these are examples of renewable resources. Then water is also a renewable resource because it gets recycled. But in the contemporary scenario, you would agree that we have to think whether water is a renewable resource or it has, it has slowly been turning up to non-renewable resource, right? The way we have been depleting the water resources, the way we have been depleting the groundwater, surface water resources. So, at this moment, in the contemporary scenario, it is difficult to put water in the category of renewable resources because we understand it doesn't seem to be renewable anymore. Right. Coming to non-renewable resources, there are some other resources such as minerals, fossil fuels, which once they are used, they are lost forever. Okay, they cannot be regenerated, and that's why you must have seen in the pandemic's scenario, we were too much concerned about depletion of these non-renewable resources. We were paying heavily for petrol, diesel, and such resources, right? So they are non-renewable, and that's why we are concerned. They cannot replenish on their own, because you must have studied in your lower grades that how over millions of years coal, petroleum, diesel, they were formed. Right, so it takes millions of years. It is not like we will put them in a box, we will put dead plants and animals in a box, and then after some time we can have coal. It's not like that. It takes millions of years, okay, and it is a natural process, so they cannot be regenerated easily. And mineral deposits were formed slowly in millions of years, as I just mentioned. Once a deposit is used, it cannot be regenerated. And fossil fuels, for example, petrol, coal, they get burnt up and cannot be recovered. Similarly, the formation of soil is a very slow process, and formation of a layer of topsoil can take thousands of years. Hence, it is also a non-renewable resource, right? Okay. Now let us come to our first, natural resource of discussion, that is land resource. Okay, so land is one of the nature's most precious gifts. It is that part of lithosphere that sustains life as well as provides various existential resources to human beings. And all of us who have been staying in cities, we would agree that why it is the nature's most precious gifts. Understanding the scarcity of land resource in cities, right? Okay, so it provides various kind of resources like food, fiber, medicine, minerals, and services like agricultural productivity. See, agricultural production is only possible when we have, a piece of land to work upon. Biological diversity. The biological diversity would be able to survive when there are, when there is a piece of land with good trees, etc. Right? Then only flora, when flora would come up on land, then only fauna would come up. Okay. So it provides habitat to all the diversity, all the forms of diversity, all the life forms. Then carbon sequestration, it sequesters the excessive carbon dioxide in nature. So they are natural, it is a natural pool of, carbon. It is natural sink of carbon. Okay, excessive carbon dioxide in air is absorbed by these plantations which are existing. So etc. Okay, then the most basic use of land is to support vegetation of various kinds, thereby providing habitat for all the terrestrial fauna to exist, right? And yes, it is the nature's most precious gift to us as well. We have our human establishments, we have, different, man-made resources. They are possible, they are not possible without, a land resource. So the land resource can be divided into broad three categories. What are those three broad categories? Very stable resources, moderately stable resources, and very unstable resources. See, on the basis of stability, okay. See, very stable are reliefs, geological formations, and minerals. If they are once there, they don't get, we do not lose their state quite easily. Okay, so they are quite stable. Then if we talk about moderately stable resources, it could be soil, it could be water. They are moderately stable. Okay, so but we can as for example, for instance, in the current scenario, soil and water resources, they are facing crisis, but since they are moderately stable, they can be, if we ensure that we are replenishing groundwater resources, then it is not going to be a big problem. But we are not doing that, and that's why, it is turning problematic for us. Okay, then very unstable is vegetation and biodiversity. It is quite unstable. Okay, because you understand, that if in case of any natural intervention or in case of any human intervention, we lose, the green cover. And when we use the green cover, when we lose the green cover, or say vegetation, the different animal species or the different species of microbes associated with the green cover, they also go away. So it is quite unstable resource, right? So what is the relationship between land resources and human beings? Let us understand that and why this relationship exists. Okay. So from a human point of view, the land resource includes all those aspects and functions of the land which can be used to fulfill human needs, right? Important resources and services provided by the land to mankind are, what are the important resources and services? Apart from the enlisted points, keep on writing in the question and answer chat box that what other resources and services are provided by the land and which have not been mentioned here. Okay, keep on writing. Okay, so it is minerals, it can be soil, it can be agricultural crops, natural forest products, medicinal plants, forest-based industries and livelihoods. Okay, all this is possible when we have good, proportion of land resources available, right? If other pointers come to your mind, do write in the question and answer box. Then see, yes, we derive all these services, all these resources from mankind, and because the land resource provided all these resources, it has been seriously threatened by the anthropogenic, that is man-led activities. Okay, the land resource is under huge threat due to misuse and mismanagement by humans. Various anthropogenic activities have led to decrease in land productivity, land degradation, and being polluted. Okay, so these are the major, anthropogenic activities. Keep on writing other anthropogenic activities which are coming to your mind. The anthropogenic activities which are threatening the land resources. Write in the question and answer box. Okay. Prominently those are land productivity, land degradation, and the pollution. We know that why pollution is caused through discharge of sewage on land, discharge of wastewater from industries. Then we understand, discharge of pesticides, excessive use of pesticides on fields, croplands. Okay, that also degrades the quality of land. This is all pollution. Then, illegal dumping of waste on, fallow lands, abandoned lands. Okay, that is another issue. If something else comes to your mind, please keep on writing in the question answer box. I repeat, okay? We will discuss in the end of the class. So land degradation and soil erosion are impacting the various resources and services that we humans obtain from land. Okay, it is impacting our quality of life and indeed our survival, as we directly and indirectly depend on it. An extreme case of land degradation is desertification. It is very important for you to know what is desertification. See, it is an extreme case of land degradation. And what happens in the desertification? See, semi-dry regions of the world. Semi-dry means they're already, somehow dry in nature. So semi-dry regions of the world, they are losing their productive capacity to such an extent that they are becoming barren and desert-like due to anthropogenic activities and climate change issues. Okay, because of serious misuse and mismanagement by man, and due to climate change issues, there is hardly any precipitation, there is shortage of water, and then with time it gets converted into a desert-like condition. Okay, and what are the effects we will discuss ahead. So first of all, let us understand what is land cover. Okay, when we talk about land cover, it basically refers to the observed biophysical cover on the surface of the earth. Okay, so what is the biophysical cover on the surface of the earth? Whether it is vegetation, it could be water, it could be bare soil, or it could be urban infrastructure. Okay, so how, with what biophysical cover the land has been covered is land cover, right? Land cover, it can be determined either by field survey or by analyzing satellite and aerial images. The International Geosphere Biosphere Program, that is IGBP, has categorized land cover into 17 classes that include different types of forest, woodlands, shrublands, grasslands, wetlands, and deserts. Okay, so this is included in those 17 classes. The global land area is, the data says the global land area is 13.2 billion hectares. Of this, 12%, that is 1.6 billion hectares, is under cultivation. 28%, that is 3.7 billion hectares, is forested. And 35%, that is 4.6 billion hectares, comprises of grassland and woodland ecosystems. Okay, so this is basically, they are giving, we are representing the data set here, that how, with what biophysical cover the global land area is constituted. Then coming to land use, see, land use is quite different from land cover. Land cover, I just told you that it is biophysical cover on the surface of the earth. Okay, but this refers to the purpose for which land is being used. For example, whether it is being used for recreation or wildlife habitat or agriculture. Okay, so in cities or at places while traveling here and there, you must have seen that there are yellow colored boards, and on them with black color it is clearly written what is the land use. In Delhi you can observe the people who have been staying in Delhi, and even outside easily you can observe what is the land use. If there is an abandoned land or if it is a function site, it is clearly written function site, and it is mandated by DDA because it takes care of the land use. Okay, so to illustrate Grassland is a term which is used for land cover. Just now, we read that, grassland is a sort of class of land cover. Okay? While agricultural land or a tennis court refers to the land use of a grassland, that how a grassland is being used as agricultural land or say as a tennis court. Okay, so the purpose which that land cover is, catering to, it is called as land use, right? Okay. And we very well understand that in the contemporary scenario, the land use pattern has been changing intensively. Okay, so let us understand the land use change. Conversion of terrestrial land surface for anthropogenic uses is basically land use change. The use of land results in changes in structure and functioning of ecosystems. See, I just told you when we were studying the unit 2 ecosystems that any sort of change in the biotic and abiotic factors would be hampering, would be affecting the structure and functioning of ecosystems. And that's why I told you when we want to understand what is going on in a natural ecosystem, we always begin with the unit ecosystems, right? So the use of land results in changes in structure and functioning of ecosystems. The way we are using land, it would, alter the structure and function of ecosystems accordingly, right? Land has been increasingly used for settlements, agricultural purposes, grazing of animals, mining, urbanization, and industrialization, which have drastically altered the land cover. Converting the natural landscapes for our own usage has resulted in devastating effects on biotic and abiotic components. Right? That how natural landscapes they are being converted for our own usage. It has resulted in devastating effects on biotic and abiotic components, which I just mentioned, and that's why it would be affecting the structure and functioning of ecosystems. Right? Increased demand for water, waste disposal and food has resulted in land being used in an unsustainable manner, leading to its degradation. Okay, first of all, the population has been rising, so there is increased pressure on the land resources for, the demand for water, for meeting, the waste disposal priorities, and, for meeting primarily the food demand, the demand for food. It has resulted in the land use changes. Okay, and the land is being exploited and used in an unsustainable manner, which is consequently leading to its degradation. So forest cover and composition, cropland expansion, agriculture and intensification, urban development and desertification are the key drivers of land use change. These are the key drivers which are leading to land use change. A very typical example of land use change in cities you can observe. In villages, people still have horizontal system of housing. That is one house, another house, they are living in a horizontal fashion. But in cities, since there is a crunch of land, what is happening? From horizontal system of housing, we are slowly and slowly, moving to vertical system of housing. We have, first floor, second floor, till, 30 floors, say 34 floors. Why it is happening? Because we have crunch of land. We want to make many people sit on the same piece of land, right? Because there is a crunch of land. So slowly and slowly there is, and this is something which is very evident in cities, that how from horizontal use of land we are moving to vertical system of housing. Okay, because of the crunch of land available. So major environmental impacts of land use change are climate change and global warming. It is a major environmental impact of land use change. Loss of biodiversity, pollution, large-scale deforestation, land degradation and desertification, which we just read, then waste aggregation, impact on human health, well-being and livelihoods. Yes, it is very, very important effect of land use change, right? Moving ahead to land degradation, that the quality of land being degraded is called as land degradation. It is defined as deterioration of the productive capacity of land due to over exploitation by humans, right? So, land degradation is, when we're talking about ecosystem degradation, it is quite, the concept which is being applied to the two terminologies is quite the same. The productive capacity is being, hampered, it is being deteriorated. So land degradation affects soil chemistry and soil biodiversity and alters the natural ecological processes and ecosystem of the affected area. Right. It has put the world's ecosystems under intense pressure as their capacity to provide vital resources and services is rapidly decreasing. Okay, it is rapidly decreasing and degraded lands have reduced capacity for supply of goods, that is food, timber, fiber, fuel, etc. for mankind. Okay, so not only the productive capacity of land is deteriorated, however, the ecosystem services which we read in our last class, they are also affected. The supply of ecosystem goods and services is seriously affected, is seriously hampered. Okay, the provision of services is not that good when we try to gain different services from the degraded ecosystem, degraded land, right? So what are the major causes of land degradation? The major causes are deforestation, soil erosion, unpredictable weather patterns or climatic conditions also lead to degradation of land. Then droughts and floods. Modern agricultural practices, they degrade the quality of land, as I just mentioned. When we try to use, fertilizers instead of organic manures, and that too in a reckless manner, that leads to uh, you know land degradation. And when in a particular piece of land, when we are overcropping, that also leads to the degradation of quality of land. Then soil pollution and increasing urbanization leads to excessive pressure on the piece of land, on land resources, and which degrades the quality of land with time, because to meet the different demands which we need to make out from the land resource, they basically lead to degradation of the quality of land. Okay. Okay, so this is the data which has come up from Food and Agricultural Organization, which clearly shows that what is the extent of degradation caused by a particular cause of land degradation. Okay, so deforestation causes 580 million hectares. Deforestation has led to 580 million hectares of land being degraded. The contribution of overgrazing as a cause is 680 million hectares. Fuel wood consumption, 137 million hectares. And then agricultural mismanagement is accountable for degradation of 550 million hectares. Then industrialization and urbanization for 19.5 million hectares. So you can actually see that overgrazing is a major cause of land degradation, right? Then see, land use change and land degradation, how they are connected, we must understand. Abrupt change in land use and land degradation, they pose a major challenge that needs to be addressed on time. Not just to restore the ecosystem and biodiversity of the affected area, but also for maintaining the economic growth and social structure in human society. See, how this is important, because, when land use plan changes, there are certain sections of the society which are quite unprivileged. This seriously, this seriously affects their livelihood. Okay, and when their livelihood gets affected, what happens? That basically hinders, that basically, somehow affects the social strata of the society. Certain people, they need to migrate because of land degradation. When their land is no more productive, they migrate to resource rich areas. That again, affects the economic growth and also affects the social structure which is existent in that particular human society. Okay, so now let us move to soil erosion. Okay, so we need to be serious, about what has been happening with the land resources. So soil is another important component when we talk about soil, and soil erosion is a major threat, which to the quality of land or the land being restored. So see, what is soil erosion? You have already said in your lower grades, you have already studied well it in your lower grades. Let me quickly recapitulate, let me quickly brush up the concept. See, soil erosion is a loss or removal of top layer of soil. Okay, and we know the top layer is quite fertile layer of soil due to natural physical agents like wind, water, and even gravity. Okay, as the topmost layer of soil is the most fertile layer, being extremely rich in organic matter and nutrients, erosion leads to reduced productivity of the soil. Okay, it leads to reduced productivity of the soil, which in turn results in the soil unable to support vegetation. Okay, soil formation is a very slow process with 1 centimeter of soil taking 200 to 300 years to form from the bedrock. Hence, frequent soil erosion takes years to restore naturally. And when soil erosion is intense, the natural soil profile is destroyed and may never attain its original capacity. So see, here comes the biggest loss. Extensive cultivation, overgrazing and deforestation expose the precious topsoil to wind and water erosion. Okay. The natural reasons which are accountable for soil erosion are the slope of the surface. Soil erosion is more common in hilly slopes, okay, which gets aggravated with the removal of natural vegetation, okay. So it is quite prominent. The slope of the surface is an important natural reason. Then soil content. The soil with higher content of sand is more prone to erosion, okay, because it is lighter and gets eroded away as compared to the soil with higher amount of clay. Weather and climatic conditions. Natural factors like high intensity rainfall, you must have seen, when there is extensive rainfall in our place, you must have seen in the open spaces, the soil moves from its particular place, gets eroded away. Okay, so the natural factors like high intensity rainfall, it comes with pressure and erodes the soil. Floods and droughts, they also increase soil erosion in affected areas. With global warming and climate change as a major threat, such natural disasters, they are becoming more frequent, leading to soil erosion in many areas, right? Okay. What are the anthropogenic reasons?